No, ini bara. Okay. Welcome.
Basically, lot of Lala Mialonko is cool, man, that I can really relax.
What am I?
Yeah,
what am I? Let me do something.
That's right.
Grand Villa.
That's fine.
Slowly. Yes. No.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people are basically Mialonko very relaxed. So basically, I can understand.
Nina Fani say what? Nidia, Nena Grand Villa is the best guest house in the Gambia.
Beji andika Grand Villa Guest House. Na labungul bebe senyaring adum na bungul bebe nyarandiring coming ibela fila ila suwe taranyame. Intel Grand Villa na kiliano la lafino wale mukamoti intel kang. Na ye sabati Grand Villa yela kodo na fa kalamuta.
Oh man, this is like a paradise.
I know.
I so much love this place.
Thank you.
Trust me, I love this place.
You can move someone and you're watching one.
Yeah.
And you to Gambia. Grand Villa.
I tell you. I love this place. Okay.
Yes.
I love this place, man. Oh yeah.
Ni lefta na kuo keso sotola. Futama Oljuntum Paradise Estate. Mbaya kumandiroke 7527-218. Wale futana website auto www.grandvillaguesthouse.com. Grand Villa Guest House.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful Seaview and Lakeview. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Yaran yilla domoro kadiyata.
Boy, Jannon Seekers restaurant.
sa na ko be ni na dimbal nimba domoro kala janno
domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kende ma bije luntan during tamala abeka domoro ki janni adi manda wala de te ka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa e ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery iko fanan be kalele badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo fendin lo dunya kono domoro betama nyillom international o toda number 1
amanke ba domola jandama
esa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa na ko sa futandin
oto sa na ko be mu CK's restaurant
dafa na janna mu yat ni manje dorom bija
aban
CK's restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But
Don't you know about Balu?
Baluo? What is Baluo?
Baluo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluo, better than sending money.
Responding to our invitation, I am happy that today I am joined here by a few distinguished faces. Amongst them, of course, the chair of the TRRC, Dr. Lamin J. Sise, the vice chair, Mrs. Adelaide Sose, of course, Nessie, the deputy UNDP resident rep, the executive secretary of the TRRC, Dr. Babagale Jallo, and of course the chairman of the Victim Center, Mr. Sirif Kijera. I'll just read a statement that I have, after which I will invite the TRRC chair to make a few statements in reaction to my remarks, and then I'll invite the chair of the Victim Center, Mr. Sirif Kijera, to also make a few remarks, and then I'll take a few questions, just a few questions, because we should have started at noon. We didn't start. It's an hour late, but better late than never. So I'll just read my statement very quickly. You will all recall that pursuant to Section 13 and Section 20 of the TRRC Act, one of the key mandates and a peculiar feature of the Gambia Truth Commission process is the granting of reparations to victims by the TRRC itself. In order to underscore the importance that the government attaches to this objective, the word reparations was included in the title of our Truth Commission, making it the first of its kind anywhere in the world. Today, almost 1 year into the TRRC public hearings, the government is fulfilling its promise to grant reparations for the victims of human rights violations and abuses within the mandate of the TRRC. Therefore, on behalf of His Excellency Adam Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, and on behalf of his entire government, it is with great pleasure that I announce to you the decision of the government of the Gambia to contribute to the TRRC Victims Trust Fund an initial amount of $50 million with immediate effect. For your information, this $50 million is being paid out from the proceeds of sale of former President Jammeh's assets, which are currently being sold in accordance with the recommendations of the Jammeh Commission. It has become increasingly apparent to the government, based on revelations at the TRRC over the past 1 year, that former President Jammeh was a central pillar in the infrastructure of terror and human rights abuses that were unleashed on ordinary Gambians and others under his leadership. Consequently, the government deems it most fitting and just that reparations for his victims should be granted directly from his wealth and assets. Hence, the payment of this $50 million from the proceeds of sale of his assets. Let me take this opportunity to thank all those ordinary Gambian men and women in the country and the diaspora for their individual and collective acts of generosity and altruism towards the welfare of the victims. In this regard, I wish to thank many, in particular, Mr. Yunus Haidara in the United Kingdom for spearheading donation efforts for Mr. Mafuji Sonko and Mr. Yusufa Bojang, the TRRC lead counsel, Mr. Esa Fall, for giving Mafuji a plot of land, Ms. Fatima Elaba of Moki Aid, based in Manchester in the United Kingdom, for providing free technical and vocational education for the children of victims and for making monthly contributions to the TRRC Victims Trust Fund, Mr. Modu Jaite, also based in Manchester, for making monthly donations to the TRRC Victims Trust Fund, Mr. Papa Yusuf Njai of Unique Solutions, for purchasing the air tickets to Turkey for 2 victims for medical treatment, for providing housing for some victims' families, and for making donations of cash, radio sets, and mobile phones. Ms. Nathania Deakin of the United Kingdom-based charity called Anya's Wish, for providing full scholarships for some victims to continue their education. Lamdo Seli C, Umi Andrews, and all others who donated to the victims of sexual violence, as well as the TRRC Secretariat under Dr. Babagale Jallo, for employing some victims in the Victim Support Unit and for facilitating the medical treatment of victims overseas. I would also like to particularly recognize the generous contributions of members of the Medical Board, which has been constituted since November 2018, through the provision of free professional services to victims. And they include Dr. Charles A.P. Roberts, General Surgeon, Dr. Keba S. Marena, Orthopedic and Trauma Surgeon, Dr. Sertijan Sengo, General Physician, Dr. Mustafa Bitey, Obstetrician and Gynecologist, Dr. John N. Jabang, Neurosurgeon, Dr. Lamin Sidibe, Clinical Psychologist, Dr. Khalilu Jain, Psychiatric Resident, and Mr. Sambaba, a physiotherapist. The government is particularly grateful to them and countless others out there whose names have not been mentioned here today, but who have been trying to make a difference and showing solidarity with the victims. I take this opportunity to encourage and call upon everyone, especially private business enterprises in the country, to make generous donations to the TRRC Victims Trust Fund so that we can, together, make reparations meaningful for the victims who deserve no less than our individual and collective support to rebuild their lives. Let us once again demonstrate to the world our true Gambian characters of benevolence, compassion, selflessness, and humanity. Let me also thank all the victims for their continued understanding and forbearance, and the Victims Center, particularly its chairman, Mr. Sheriff Kijera, for his continuous constructive engagement with government through my ministry, and for not only constantly reminding me about the urgent plight of the victims, but for also advocating for the general welfare and interests of all victims at every opportunity. The payment of this $50 million is announced here today is significantly due to his tireless and relentless efforts and attitude. All the victims should be proud of him. Finally, the government also takes this opportunity to reiterate its strong support for and firm commitment and gratitude to the TRRC, all the commissioners and staff, under the wise leadership of the chair, Dr. Lamin J. Sise, for the great contributions you continue to make towards establishing the truth about our dark past and encouraging national reconciliation in the process. This is the end of my statement, and I would now like to invite the chair, Dr. Lamin J. Sise, to make a few remarks.
Thank you very much indeed, Honorable Minister of Justice and Attorney General. I don't have any prepared remarks to make. This is short response to what the Minister has just announced. We are indeed, we at the TRRC, the commissioners, the team that is here, and the entire staff of the TRRC, very grateful indeed for the announcement that's just been made by the Minister. $50 million is a splendid contribution to be made by the government to the reparations fund that we have established, announced a few weeks ago, to have the list of assistance that's been given by Gambians that the Minister has gone through is indeed a very, very good gesture on the part of all Gambians to assist in the healing, the reconciliation, and hopefully bringing justice to this whole process. The victims deserve this kind of attention. They are the ones who really suffered enormously under 22 years of dictatorship and tyranny, brutalities that you have heard in the proceedings of the TRRC. Those victims cannot be forgotten. I trust that given the nature of our people, of our country, that is not going to happen. You can see from the list that the Minister read out how people are responding to helping those victims. At the end of the day, every Gambian was a victim under the brutal regime that ruled the country for 22 years. Our role has been to try to establish a record of these atrocities, these gross violations of human rights and abuses, with a view to healing, a view to having reconciliation. As I said, I think victims need this kind of attention. They need this kind of help. And Honorable Minister, thank you so much for the 50 million contribution coming from the government. It's a first step to bringing about that healing, bringing about reconciliation, and to a certain extent also to justice. People who have been victimized are being helped, being assisted in that way. Your contribution will help us move the process of paying reparations or handling reparations the way we are doing it in a very uniquely Gambian way. Again, thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Thank you for the contribution to our trust fund account. So we are very grateful indeed. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Honorable Attorney General and the Minister of Justice, the Chairman of the TRRC, the Vice Chairperson of the TRRC, the UNDP representative, the Executive Secretary of the TRRC, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. 2.5 years ago, the Gambia embarked on a journey to undertake critical reforms to redress and seek justice for past human rights violations and healing to the scar on the conscience of our nation. That noble initiative was led by the Attorney General and his dynamic team at the Ministry of Justice, the Civic Society, Victims Association, the UN system, and the Gambia's international partners. The task to establish the TRRC was quite a heavy undertaking. The ultimate rationale for its creation is to help prevent a recurrence of past human rights violations, ending impunity, and bring to justice those that bear the greatest responsibility for crimes committed, and make reparations to victims. Testimonies made by witnesses and alleged perpetrators broadcast on television continue to attract overwhelming public attention. The TRRC has become a national ownership. The truth uncovered, our dark history. Before you assume, learn the facts. And before you judge, understand why. Because the rule of law should serve all. Today's ceremony reaffirms government commitment to fulfilling its obligation towards reparation of victims. It is another milestone achievement and a vote of confidence to the mandate of the TRRC. With this commitment and responsibility taken by the Gambia government, and victims are well assured that the reparation is a serious business for the TRRC. 2 months ago, the government launched a Victims Trust Fund to mobilize resources for providing remedies to victims of human rights violations. Today, the government is paying $50 million to the Victims Trust Fund and setting the pace for others to follow. Therefore, we call upon the private sector, including Gambians of all walks of life, to own the process and donate to the Victims Fund. The responsibility to build our nation is a call for everyone to do their part. The Attorney General served this nation with honor and integrity, and we are assured that the intention to serve our nation is a patriotic one. We thank him for all his support. To the Victim Center, his doors are always open to us for engagement, to make the TRRC a successful process for all victims to realize the objective, that is to provide closure and justice for all. We commend government's effort and support to the TRRC, and we thank the government immensely for the $50 million that is going to be paid to the Victims Trust Fund today. We thank the chairperson and the vice chairperson and the commissioners of the TRRC and the executive secretary of the TRRC and all the staff for serving our nation. You have been doing a fantastic job. Thank you. And thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Like I said, we started very, very late. So, Mr. Chair, with your permission, I'll just take a few questions, very few, before we break off. I'll just take maybe 2 or 3 questions at most. Otherwise, you all seem happy and satisfied. You're all okay. Thank you very much. So no questions. I think the ceremony is over. We can go back up. You're not happy? Well,
you did a good job
well,
with the regular press briefing.
Yes.
So, but please don't punish us for you yourself being late.
No, we were not late. The blame lies elsewhere. Everyone was here on time. So you were here in the room, so you know where the blame lies. We don't need to apportion it to anyone in public. But okay, very quickly, let's ask the questions. Yes, go ahead.
First of all, I want to say a big congratulations in your efforts in 50 million Gambian dollars. The victims really need this. And the diaspora and all those residents who have been contributing. Congratulations to everyone for that. My question is about the Janneh Commission. How much money has been retrieved so far? You said 50 million is being used. Whether that was retrieved from the Janneh Commission, and most importantly, are your ministry using international support to recover assets abroad, such as the Potomac Mansion, Yahya Jammeh's Potomac Mansion?
Well, the recovery efforts following the Janneh Commission's report is an ongoing one. We continue to sell the assets of former President Jammeh as the Commission recommended. That is not going to happen very quickly. It's going to happen over time. The former President Jammeh has a lot of assets. I think he had 281 properties. We're not going to, of course, dispose of all. The government has set up a task force at both the technical and ministerial level to look at which ones to sell and which ones to retain for government purposes. So this 50 million is part of the proceeds of sale for the time being. It's not all of it, it's just part of it. And we thought since he was a central pillar, as I said in my statement, in the infrastructure of terror under his leadership, he should pay from his own pocket to start with the reparations to the victims. Now, in terms of, what was your second question again?
What international support?
We are getting a lot of international support. You're right, we're getting a lot of international support. As I said the last time, I am in constant discussions with the with authorities in the United States government. They're very cooperative, they're very helpful. But not only that, we continue to follow former President Jammeh's assets abroad. I am not at liberty to disclose because these are very complex, sensitive matters, and people have a tendency to move assets if they believe that they're being followed in a particular jurisdiction. But we haven't relented. We are working on that. We are working on several law enforcement agencies and others in several countries. So we haven't relented on that. Let's Lamin. Yeah.
Yes, my name is Lamin. I want to ask you, you said the 15 million was generated out of the properties of former president that we are showing. I want to ask you, don't you think the government is preempting the recommendations that would at the end of the day by the TRRC in that effect? The other question that I want to ask is, this 15 million, is it a one-off payment, or the government, as time goes on, will be paying more to the trust fund?
Just to be clear about your question on preemption, what do you mean about that? What are we supposed to be?
You indicated in your speech that former President Jammeh was a central pillar in the terror infrastructure.
Yes.
And as a result, you are saying that he should pay from his own pocket. So don't you think that should be one of the TRRC? Definitely, when the investigation is done, the TRRC would make certain recommendations. So that's why I said whether it is your view that the government is preempting that effort.
I think you're confusing two things here. I think the TRRC will grant reparations. The government has an obligation to provide the monies for that reparation. So where the government takes that money is not a question for the TRRC, it's a question for the government, so long as it provides that money. In terms of labeling Jammeh as a central pillar, well, that's just a statement. It does not mean the TRRC is going to hold that Jammeh bears the greatest responsibility, or he's amongst those or not. Let's remember, the TRC is mandated to identify only those who bear the greatest responsibility. Now, nothing I have said here in terms of labeling Jammeh as a central pillar in the infrastructure of terror determines whether he is amongst those who bear the greatest responsibility. But I think that question really is not a serious one. We have had a year of testimony, and I think Jammeh's name keeps popping up every now and then. And so insofar as Jammeh is concerned, I would actually dare say that, come on. I think the facts are speaking for themselves. I don't need to go into that. In terms of whether this is a one-off payment, no, it is not. If you listen to me very carefully, I said an initial payment of 50 million. So that word initial speaks a lot about where we are in terms of payment for the payments. Yes, let me just give to Barry here.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I have a question about the arrest of Michael Correa in U.S., whether the government would seek an extradition. Thank you very much.
I'm afraid I cannot confirm or deny anything about Michael Correa for the time being. When I have something to share with you, I'm sure you know, I will call up a press briefing and share that. But right now, I am not in a position to confirm or deny anything about that. We are working with the U.S. authorities, and until we are clear about where we are, I can't share anything, unfortunately. Yes, Abdullah.
You were part of the Rwanda tribunal, and we know that Rwanda has demonstrated that reparation is not a big challenge for countries. They levy a tax at national level that make it mandatory for all Rwanda, including victims, to contribute to the fund. So what is preventing Gambia government to follow the footsteps of Rwanda? The second question is about a statement made by Babaka Tomojata. They made it clear that they reject the Jammeh Commission report. And APRC is calling on government to produce the receipt of Jammeh's asset that they are sold. So what is your take on it?
Well, you know, reparations are always a very thorny issue everywhere. We knew that. It's still an issue in South Africa, considering, if you consider how long ago the Truth Commission process ended, or indeed in Sierra Leone. But every country determines its own particular models for reparation. Rwanda has adopted an approach that they thought fits Rwanda, given the context under which they had their own transitional justice process. And the Gambia has adopted a model that we think fits our context here. And the bottom line is that reparations are being provided, whether it's through one particular model or another. Rwanda is providing it, we are providing it. It's not as if we're saying we're not providing it. What the announcement we made today is clear testimony that the government is committed to providing reparations. How we do that would be up to government. So if the complaint was that the government didn't provide reparations, then perhaps I would understand the rationale for your question. But the fact is that it's been provided. How we're doing it depends on how best we think our own context fits into the strategy we are adopting. You see, I am not a politician. I don't like responding to politicians. So I will not respond to that question respectfully, if I may. If you ask me that question coming from you, I will happily respond. But to quote a politician and ask me to respond, you're putting me into the political arena, and I don't want to do that. I'm not a politician. I don't like getting into... Well, when did the government produce the white paper? It's an ongoing process. I am sure, as always, when the time comes for us to give an account of that, we will provide that account, either through the press or the National Assembly. It doesn't matter. But to request for that now, a few weeks after the sale has started, I said Gambia had 281 properties. Those are not going to be disposed of in a week or two. Yes, the gentleman at the back. Let me just get to him.
I have one question about the Swiss nationals, Martin Keller and Elijah Raymond. name are in the Journalist Commission report. So the report says criminal proceedings will be initiated against them. Is it already done? What are you doing with this guy?
Not yet. We have given them 30 days, as I'm sure you have seen in the white paper. The 30 days has not yet expired. We will see what happens after the 30 days.
And with the Swiss justice in Switzerland, what are you doing? Are you going to institute civil proceeding in Switzerland?
We have given them 30 days. Let's see what happens after the 30 days. Then,
Nothing for now.
well, we have given them 30 days, like we have given all the others against whom advance notices have been mentioned for them to pay up. Let's see when that time elapses what next steps will be. As I'm sure you will know, because you're always here for press briefings, so don't be in too much of a hurry. You will have your turn soon, and we will be happy to share. Maybe one more question, and then I think we will leave. It's almost 1:30 now. Yes, you're not asking me anything about today's announcements. There will be a special session on the Journey Commission report and the white paper. Don't worry. I just came back from travel last week. So today is about the TRRC, and that's why they are here. So let's just focus our attention a little bit on that. I will convene a press conference as usual, and you will ask all the questions you want. But let's just limit this to the TRRC today, please. Yes, just maybe one more. Flex, you had your chance. You asked two questions.
It's not directly about the TRRC, but it's connected to the Never Again campaign. As we speak right now, 3 soldiers are kept at the Fagara barracks for over 3 months, without going to trial or being granted bail. Is the ministry aware about this? And if yes, what are you doing about these 3 soldiers who were, of course, allegedly accused of trying to plot against the CDS?
I'm not aware of SG. Any information about that? But we are not officially seized of that matter yet. Let me put it that way. We are not officially seized of that matter. I think, again, at every opportunity, I'll try to explain how our criminal justice process works. The Ministry of Justice is not responsible for arrest and detention. We are not. And we are responsible for providing legal advice to government. And if investigations are ongoing, if arrests are made and the files are not yet brought to us, we can't do much. We can't even comment because we don't know what the facts are. So until the case files are brought to us, there is not much we can say. And so far, it has just been confirmed to me that we haven't received any information, not officially anyway, about those arrests. So I can't really give a response about that. Okay. I think this is the end of this press conference. No. Let us talk only on the TRRC. Please, only on the TRRC. As I said, I will convene another press conference and you can ask your general questions as usual. But today, let's not take the focus away from this important announcement about the victims. Let's focus on the victims and the TRRC, please.
The victims, we've been focusing on them a lot. The issue is that we had no idea what the press conference was about. So
yes.
We didn't prepare these questions for it. What the issue is, you have mentioned some deadlines this year. Earlier, in May, you said that by August 2019, you'll be concluding plans on electoral reforms with the political party.
Yep.
That by August.
Yep.
So I want to know what's the latest on that. Secondly, you took up the role as the lead for the SSR process, which is, we've heard a lot talking about that, we've heard what the EU has said about it. Are you still in charge? There's a new Minister of Defense. Honorable, please. You see, we have these questions cannot wait, sir. These are important questions. Please.
I agree with you. They're important questions. But no, I have accommodated. But as I said, I'm not here alone. I'm here with others, and the idea is to provide, to announce this money for the victims trust fund at the TRC, and I want us to just focus on that. As I said, I promise there will be another press conference soon where you will have a field day. So honestly, let me answer your questions, and that is it. I'm not answering any others. Not any others. Okay. Now, in terms of the electoral process, I think we have worked closely with the IEC. The IEC took the lead at some point, and we have received from them proposals for amendment of the Elections Act. We are going to go through one round of consultations with the political parties about that before we finally get to doing the drafting of that amendment. So yes, we have missed our deadline of August, is September, October, but I have said here in the past, I have capacity challenges. And I have said that it is going to affect the speed at which these processes are going to be undertaken, and this is one of the consequences. When I don't have the staff to do the job that I have to do within the time that I want to do it, it affects my output. So this is where we are. And then the other question again, I am going senile. I keep forgetting very easily. It's too much. You see how gray my hair is these days. The SSR, no, as far as I know, I am still the chair of the Security Sector Steering Committee, notwithstanding the appointment of a new Minister of Defense, as far as I know. So,
but they say that it's been very slow. What's your response to that? Any plans to?
We can't deny that. It's been very slow to the frustration of many, including myself. And I think that is why His Excellency the President thought it perhaps prudent, wise to appoint me as chair. And I think some progress has been made since my appointment. We have launched the National Security Policy. We have drafted and adopted the 2 strategy documents. The security sector, the teams have gone on study tours to Ghana and Sierra Leone, and I think the process of implementing those strategies will commence in earnest. So some progress has been made. As I am sure you remember, the EU representative recognizing that progress after my appointment. So it's slow, but we're getting there. Thank you all very much. Very soon I'll convene another one and we can chat about all of these things.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bawa Galajallo, for being with us for just about a minute or two. The Justice Minister have just announced that $50 million will be given to TRRC Trust Fund for reparation-related matters. I mean, what does this mean for the TRRC and for the victims?
Well, for the TRRC, it's certainly a very good step. We have set up a victim support fund, and the government has seen fit to contribute $50 million. It's a significant amount of money. It's not enough. We have a lot of victims. And we'll continue giving out interim reparations in terms of helping with scholarships and medical support and so on and so forth. But the additional money means that we can now start thinking ahead, how to help a lot of families who are in need of support, right now, yeah.
So in what sort of format will this reparation take? Have there been a policy that sets out who gets what or how one gets anything?
Yeah, exactly. We have a reparations policy. We are working on one that needs to be finalized. We are also working on rules and regulations to determine what amount of money, for example, goes to the families of murdered victims, what amount of money goes to victims of torture, what amounts of money goes to victims of other types of human rights violations. So these documents are in the works, and we're going to see how best to fast-track that process so that we can have a complete, we can have a clear way of what to do. But meanwhile, we are also issuing interim reparations to victims in terms of medical support, employment, and other things.
Will victims be engaged in the process of sort of identifying what sort of payment XY gets for what particular crime and stuff? And
yeah, we plan to do consultations, especially with the victim center, to work on on this. But we are already working on the regulations. So,
in summary, what sort of, how much money, you said it's not enough, 50 million, it's a lot but not enough. How much money are we looking at in terms of what TRRC needs for interim reparations?
Yeah, well, that would be determined by the number of victims that will come out of the process. We don't know the number of victims yet. We only know that there are lots of families that will need help going forward. Yes, and so we can't tell exactly how many victims we're going to cater for. Sorry, I've been called, so I have to.
Thank you.
live abroad and want to build your dream home in the Gambia without risking your funds and family ties? Do you want a household name that is trustworthy and efficient? A name that will continue to give you updates on the project from the beginning to the very end with videos and pictures? If your answer is yes, then worry no more. Boss Construction and Asset Management is here for you. If you live outside the Gambia and want to build your dream home, then this is ideal for you. Just reach out to Boss Construction and let's start building the dream home into a reality. With Boss Construction, the difference is clear. We give you value for money. Some of our services includes the following: construction management, building equipment rentals, rent management, purchase and leasing, asset management, and many more. For more information, please contact 282-4945. Better still, send us an email, bossgambia@gmail.com, or you can also visit our website on www.bossgambia.com. Boss Construction, a name you can trust. Boss Construction and Asset Management, keeping families together.
no lañ def ñoo ñëw ak yéen rek Skincare Plus nara jàkkaarloo ak yéen waxtaan ak yéen tuuti rek si suñu tube suñu baax emuñ rek ci ay diw waaye comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek dañoo yëngu ci ay tube te yënguwuñ nag si just any tube suñ tube bu nekk 5-star Jesna la 5-star Jesna mooy Jesna bi gën a pire moom la ñoo tube palmaan bi gën a fort moom la ñoo liggéeyee ñun rek si tube dara du doy day des not only dañoo tube but bu la neexee ñu tuubal la ba pare nag ñawal la we're not all about skin. We are skin, care, and the plus does come in so many different ways.